Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dolphins Roundtable, the home of the real Miami Dolphin fans. Let's get into this episode. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the head coach, GM presser reaction. Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan have been named head coach and general manager. The main point of this, talk is good, but it needs to be done through action. We've seen this before, Dolphin fans. These general managers come in, they say they're going to change the culture, they're going to do this, and that. Talk about building through the draft. We're going to bring in the right guys. We're going to change how we do things. And then it never happens. We saw this with Chris Grier before. And then with all the hiring of the head coaches, what they're going to bring in, nothing ever happens. So what I liked is, as much as I liked them saying all the right things, as a fan, I'm knowing this is the road we've already been down before. So why do I think this might be different? Well, building through the draft for one, let's just go over some things from 2019. This is when Chris Grier officially became the full-on general manager after Mike Tannenbaum was taken out of Miami. So then it wasn't him drafting, it became Chris Grier's job. So these are just some numbers since 2019, we drafted 47 players. We still have 21 of them on the team. Now, think of 21 on the team, right? 19 through 23. So the 2019 draft to the 2023 draft, only 6 players from those drafts are still on the current roster. Impact players on this team, we have 3 right now. So 3 of the 21 players on our team right now are impact players. And if you were to include players that were to leave, that have already left Miami via free agency, via trade, it's more like 7 to 9 players that were impact players. That's just Miami. Now, let's go to where John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley came from. Since 2019, the Packers have drafted 69 players. They still have 36 of them. So far, those numbers are already better than Miami's. Since 2019 to 2023, those drafts, they still have 21 of those 36 players are from those drafts. And they have 14 impact players on their current roster. So 14 out of 36 are impact players. And including players that have left, free agency, trade, etc., they've had 21 that they've drafted. That's really good numbers when you're looking at it as a whole for what the Green Bay Packers bring to Miami. We're talking about the Packer way. So John Eric Sullivan's going to build through the draft. It's a prime example of what he's done before in Green Bay. He's been there since 2003, worked his way up, and we're seeing it on paper. We don't draft very well. Green Bay does. They develop players. We don't. So at the end of the day, when you see what they're able to do, now building through the draft is going to be the very key pieces. We have 5 picks in the top 100 this year. And just learning the salary cap went up. We'll get to that here in just a minute when it comes to strategy and how things are going to go about in terms of the moves John Eric Sullivan will have to make. But overall, the head coach GM presser was good. We're talking about quarterback strategy. I like John Eric Sullivan's response that we're not going to just draft a quarterback in the first round just because we have to draft a quarterback. No, we're going to address it the right way. We're going to look at everything. We're going to have quarterback competition. If they don't work out, we're going to draft the quarterback every year or every other year in order to get competition. And if it works out where you have 2 really good quarterbacks, 3 good quarterbacks, you have a lot of trade value. And I think when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, I think he could get another year and potentially should, because now you're bringing a new OC, a new system, a team that is hopefully going to protect him a little bit better than this year did. So maybe they give him another year because the dead money is going to be super high, and then it leaves him after the season, or trade him if he starts having a good year. Not really sure, but I think if you give him another year to see what he can do under a new regime, I think that will be ultimately the final piece in determining what the quarterback strategy will be. There's been some rumors about Malik Willis, if he's coming to Miami. But overall, I like the response of not just bringing somebody in just to bring someone in. They got to be the right person. They got to fit what we want to do and have the mental and physical makeup of what we want in this football team. Now, the last one is culture. Jeff Hafley was talking about culture, and I think this is, the biggest piece when we talk about talk is cheap. You got to be doing it through action. The 4 pillars that Hafley was talking about is toughness, trust, belief, and accountability. When you look at trust, you got to trust your players to do their jobs, and they got to believe in each other. When you trust that your other people are going to do their job, makes it really easy to do your job, because when you know if you do what you need to get done, everyone else will be able to do the same. we're talking about belief, obviously we talk about a lot of noise outside. Everyone keeps talking about, oh, this team is soft. It's soft, it's soft, it's soft. Eventually, people are going to start believing that. So when you're players, Hafley's got to get them believing in themselves, and ultimately we'll be able to do that through the training camp, through the offseason workouts, and get this team in prime position for this season. The third one is toughness, because this team, I know I just said we're mentioning soft. I don't think they're as soft as everyone says they are. I think that they're not as tough as they were talking. All this talk going into the years was a new culture. Oh, we're gonna be much tougher, this and that, and it wasn't. Injuries did play a little bit of a part in that. But when you look at the team overall, this team was not very tough because they got pushed around up front. It needs to be won in the trenches, which is what Miami has not done very well at. And obviously, some of that's because of drafting, some of it's because of free agency decisions. But looking at this team as a whole, this team isn't as tough as it should be. And when you look at Green Bay Packers, they're tough. When you look at the good teams, they're tough. So you have to get to that level in order to compete with these teams, especially when it comes to playing cold weather games. Because when you're in cold weather, it's gonna hurt when you're tackling people. It's gonna be cold. Sometimes that grass is not gonna feel very good when you land on it, when you're making a tackle. However, you got to fight through it. You got to be tough. You got to win the battle in the trenches. And I think Jeff Hafley is a really good example of what we could do if we do this right. And the last one's accountability. Accountability. This is the biggest one. All this decision-making from Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, it's a collaborative effort and all these decisions, that's not holding anybody accountable. You need accountability. Like, oh, John Eric Sullivan, okay, that's in his role. That's him. Okay, on the field product, Hafley coaching, that's on him. So when you look and you can decipher who is to blame for a certain thing, like if there was a bad decision that Hafley made that cost us the game, okay, he made a mistake. That happens. Obviously, he's not a first-year head coach in terms of head coaching experience, but he is a first-year NFL head coach. So there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be bumps and bruises along the road. However, when you talk about accountability, we got to have that on this team because we haven't had it in a long time, and people need to be held accountable because we can't have this people stinking around for years and years and years because it's all basically collaborative efforts. That's just not going to get the job done, especially in the NFL these days. And I think that's really that and toughness are the two biggest ones on this team that we did not see last year. There was no accountability because everyone was showing up late to meetings, showing up late to player-only meetings, not really caring because Mike McDaniel, basically when we were winning, goes, oh, it's okay, you can show up late, and then try to change the culture last year, and no one bought it. So I think from the get-go, Hafley's going to put his foot down. He's going to change the culture, start building this team into a winner, and ultimately it's from those pillars and what his mindset is. He's had to work hard. Talking about his journey from D3 up, he's had to work for everything he's gotten. So I think that he'll be able to resonate with the players, similar like what Mike McDaniel did. He'll be a little bit of a player's coach in terms of being able to connect, but at the same time commanding the respect that it takes to be a coach and to win games in the National Football League. So McDaniel, he was more of a player's coach that line was difficult. Blake Ferguson talked about it recently that Mike McDaniel was too much of a player's coach. Let the players run the meetings and run how the day was going to flow, and you just can't have that and have success in the National Football League. So Hafley, I think, will do a great job there. The 4 pillars for culture, I think, is a huge one on this team, something we haven't really had in a long time. And building through the draft, I think, are really the 2 main points. Quarterback strategy is good to hear, but a lot of this is going to come down to actions and how they deal with free agency and then ultimately do it in the draft. So that's for the GM